Hey guys, Tisha here, and we are back with another Sister Wives Season 5 review. And we're getting to meet another polygamous family, a family that I think shows us a different side of polygamy, what seems to be like a more functional side, but then again, it's only one episode, so maybe I shouldn't speak so quickly. So, here we go. We begin the episode with Cody telling us how there are a lot of challenges with building for homes because of the many personalities. Cody says that sometimes he may want one thing and his wife may want another, so it's kind of hard to come to common ground so that both of them get what they want. We find out that Christine wants 5 to 6 bedrooms because she said that being in this rental house and having all the kids spread out has been beneficial. We then hear about Janelle, who seems to be more concerned about her budget. So she's doing things like putting Maddie in one room, Hunter in another, and combining Garrison and Gabe in a room, even though we know that those two always argue and they're always fighting. She said they'll be okay with having to share. Janelle lets us know and Cody know that she does not want the extra rooms because of the money. So Cody's like, she's saying she doesn't want extra rooms, but I'm thinking about like when the kids like Logan come home from college, I want to make sure that he has somewhere to sleep. So funny how that college and the kids coming back home and then making sure that these homes were so great for these children was such a big deal. But then later on, they go and they move, and all of that, all of the work, all the time it took to get these homes built goes out the window. Also, they could go to Flagstaff. Bottom line is that Janelle is frugal and she feels like her children can share rooms. I can't remember, but I feel like when all of this is said and done, that Janelle's home is going to be below budget because she seems to be the one who's doing things the most cost-effective way. I'm not going to say whether or not her children should be sharing a room. I would think that if you're building your home and you all have the same budget, that you just might as well and get whatever works best for your dynamic. And if she's saying that works best for her is for them to be frugal and for them to not have so many rooms, then that's what works best for her and her children. We then go to Robin, who wants a pantry and she wants an extra bedroom. She wants a hobby room, not necessarily for the hobbies, but for an office. We know that Robin wants an extra bedroom because they already plan to have more kids. She said, just in case we have more kids, you know you want to have more kids. Cody already let us know a couple episodes ago that whether Mary decides to have a kid with him or not, he's going to have more kids. Those kids are going to come from you. So don't sit here and act coy about it. You know you're going to have more kids. I don't think Robin needed the office / hobby room because what did she do? Oh yeah, that's right. The office / hobby room, she said she wanted it for herself, but she didn't want it for herself. She wanted it for Cody. Remember in season 18, I think it was, we were told that Robin made an office for him. So a lot of times he would be over there in that office doing work. He worked from his office, which meant that he got to see Robin every day. No matter how you put it, those two were being conniving from the very beginning, but let me get back on topic. We then go to Mary, who we know wants a hobby room, and we know she wants a wet bar. Cody says that as long as that wet bar is $8,000 or lower, that you would be able to do it and stay in budget with all the other wives. I noticed that while they were discussing these plans, unlike the rest of the wives, that Leon is present yet again. Mary really included Leon in a lot of things that Leon did not need to be a part of. You're speaking finances. I don't think there's anything wrong with letting your children know the cost of certain things, but when you're breaking down what's going to go where and how you're going to do this, and you may have some disagreements as to what should be in your home, there is no reason for Leon to be present during this conversation, which further reminds me of why Leon has always been so opinionated, because they've given Leon too much exposure to them and to their dynamic. We find out that the family is going on a vacation with another polygamist family for a week, the Dargers. This made me wonder if they filmed this out of sequence, because if you remember last episode that Janelle said that they're all tired, they just came back from a week-long vacation. So I'm wondering if this is the week-long vacation that she was talking about. I think it is. We find out that the Dargers are not a part of their faith, but they are polygamists, and they also have 3 wives and a husband. 2 of the wives happen to be twin sisters. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. That is a bit too much for me. My sister? As I see them on the screen, I'm remembering them because I think we see them later on after the family moves to Flagstaff. I do believe that they go and visit them again. They seem to be a nice family, but there's no way that my sister and I would be marrying the same man. We find out that between the 3 wives, there are 23 kids, and that 2 of the wives share the same anniversary date with their husband because they got married on the same day. Then years later, I believe it was 10 years later, the twin sister came into the family. So that means that there are going to be about 50 people almost on this one trip. We then get some footage from the Darger household where things, in my opinion, are ran in decency and order. It's very apparent as soon as they walk in, the cameras walk in, and it doesn't seem like they were putting on for the camera. It really seems like this is what they do, because we hear later on from the kids about how organized their father was and how much structure they have and all that stuff. Kids don't lie a lot of times. When they're young, they're not gonna lie. It's later on when the adults get in their heads and try to have them thinking one thing versus another that you see some changes. But the children were very outspoken and let their thoughts be known. As we're seeing them, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember them. They're my type of people, because he does the schedules and he writes stuff down, and ooh, the organization was chef's kiss. I think her name was Alina. Alina is the first wife, but it's only by a few minutes. I don't know how they have first and second wife when the first and second wife were married on the same day, but we're going to say she's the first wife. Vicky is the second wife, and Valerie is the third. Could you imagine it being your wedding night and you don't know whether or not you're going to get to see your husband because he's married to another bride as well on the same day? Just seems messy to me. We find out that they've known the Browns for 4 years. Wife 1 and 2 have been married for 22 years, and wife 3 is at the 12-year mark. We hear how the women became best friends first, and that they pursued him. He courted the 2 of them at the same time, but it took a while because one of their dads took 2 years to allow Joe to marry his daughter. And once he told, his daughter, like, look, I'm not going to give you my blessing, but I'll allow it, he proposed that exact same day to the both of them. As they're telling their backstory, you see them packing, you see things lined up nicely on the street on the outside. You know that they have 3 vehicles that are lined up. The father is delegating what goes where. He's saying these are your assigned seats. This is how you're going to be. It just is very, very organized, which I really like. Now, if you've been watching my rewatches, I said a long time ago when we saw them go through all of this hassle to figure out who was going to go in what vehicle that I didn't understand why the Browns didn't assign seats to their children to make it easier. This is a prime example of what happens when you make assignments. He didn't have the arguing, he didn't have the bickering. He said this is where you're going, and that's what happened. We find out that they've all had ups and downs, but that they truly love one another. Val was married to her husband for 10 years, which is the twin that came in last. She said that it was a plural family, but she ended up leaving because it was dysfunctional. Now, see, Robin, this is how you talk about a relationship that you had with your ex, who you still currently have children with, without throwing that man under the bus. Because we know that Robin has dogged out her ex-husband. But I like the way this other wife from this other family explained the dynamic between her and her previous family without being too detailed or without exposing anything that necessarily didn't need to be exposed. We can say things are dysfunctional and know exactly what that means. As they're sitting on the couch, one of the things that I noticed is he's very affectionate with not just one, but all of his wives. And I'm not saying there's no jealousy or anything like that, because some of the wives talked about that later on, but it doesn't seem to be to the degree that the Browns have, because you can tell that he is aware of his wives, and that he is not just focusing on one, or not just being more lovey-dovey with one. It just is something that I noticed instantly as they were sitting there and watching them throughout the show. Christine says how sisters marrying the same man has got to be another set of issues for that relationship. And I would think so, but the sister said that she's the one who said that she knew that she was spiritually supposed to be a part of the family. So they've made it work some kind of way. Okay. The Dargers get in the car. They arrive at Mary's house where they're going to eat dinner. As the Browns and the Dargers are talking about what time they're going to leave, Joe, who is the father, says, "It's up to you what time we leave. Just don't tell me that we're going to leave at 8 and we don't leave at 10, because I'll be irritated." That is me. I am a stickler for time. That is one of the reasons why I get really, really irritated with these YouTube uploads, because it makes my nerves be like, because I keep sitting checking the computer to see if it's uploaded, and you cannot predict it because YouTube does what it wants to do with the uploads. Your speed will be great and it's still taking forever. But back to this. Stickler for time. If you say we're going to do it at this time, then do it. It's called being considerate. Don't have me waste my time. Don't have me wake up extra early. Don't have me do something thinking that we're going to be gone at a certain time and it doesn't happen. Janelle, who is always complaining about how long it takes them to leave and how they're so unorganized and how it just doesn't make sense that these people don't use their brains and all the other things that we've seen her say when it's time for them to go on a trip, lets us know that she had a problem with Joe saying that. Janelle is so wishy-washy, and I don't know how to take her. She comes off as real passive-aggressive to me sometimes, and a flip-flop. You all let me know what you think. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but I you could tell that she had a problem with him saying it. And I don't know what has happened to Janelle in the past, but I think that Janelle struggles with people who are asserting themselves. I think she struggles with people who are matter of fact and they don't do it in a certain tone, because Janelle is so, when she talks, she's so, soft spoken and demure, and that's the way that she speaks. So she has a problem with people like myself, maybe, who seem to be a little bit more passionate when they're speaking, which we're going to get into that a little bit more down below. Mary says she likes the fact that he's so organized and that he's a stickler for time, because Mary, as we know, is an organized person. What I instantly noticed between the two men is that Joe is calm, right? So it's the next day, and we see both of the families preparing for this departure. Now, we don't see as much as Joe and them, because Joe and them, a lot of their stuff was already packed, so they didn't have to do as much as the Browns. But we saw Joe the previous day direct his family of 23 children and get them into those vehicles, right? Joe is calm and he's organized, where Cody is chaotic, and he directs his family from this chaotic standpoint, running in and out of homes, looking for this, looking for that, and it's total chaos. Even Christine says at some point that it's chaotic. Christine says that what she notices about them is all 5 of them will go in it thinking that they got this each time, where they're going to do this, they're going to make time, it's going to be great. But what happens is all 5 of them have separate plans. So you mean to tell me that after, I don't know how many years at this point, I'll say 18. After 18 years, you all haven't figured out how to function as a family when it comes to going on trips? Better yet, after the 2 years with Robin, you all haven't sat down and had certain conversations as to ways that you can better improve your departure times. It's come on, y'all got to use some common sense. While Janelle is complaining about how controlling Joe is, Christine says she does not see it as control. She sees it as Joe's family respects him, and what he says goes. As Christine is saying this, we see Cody over there smirking. I believe that in that moment, Cody saw that even his wives respect Joe more than they respect him. I think that this is what Cody was aiming for with his wives, but he never had it. You see, Joe established a certain level of respect from his wives because Joe truly is the head of his family. Joe truly has done the work. We hear later on about how Joe has read parenting books and how he's read relationship books, and he's done some things that are outside of maybe what other polygamists do. But he's done it because he wants to make sure that his family is operating from its best standpoint. He wants to make sure that his children are receiving love and that these relationships are not momentary, but they last for what they're supposed to last, is eternity. Joe is doing all of this while Cody, in my opinion, is a pretender. They leave on time. Joe was surprised with how chaotic things looked that they left on time. I think that they left on time because Cody knew if they didn't, it was going to be a problem. And Cody didn't want any of that smoke. We see them arrive at the rental homes, which are near the beach. It looks beautiful, like Janelle standing out looking at the water. Excuse me. And rather than doing like what the Browns do, which is walk through all throughout the house and trying to figure out who's going to get what room, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, Christine points out that Joe pulled up the website, looked at the rooms that were laid out via the website, had a piece of paper and immediately started assigning rooms on that paper. Christine was impressed about how quickly he was able to get the process of the room assignments without the hassle and the bickering. Christine was in that confessional giving a lot of credit to Joe. Meanwhile, the other wives were just sitting there looking at her like, okay, yeah, you go ahead and dig that grave for yourself, because Cody doesn't like it. And you could tell Cody didn't like it. Every time she says something about Joe, Cody has something to say about the way that they do things. We see how you do things, and it wouldn't work for me. Cody said to his wives, let's start with seeing the kitchen that we're gonna cook in. And Mary says, no, we need to start with the bedrooms. And they even play the music like the ball dropped when Mary said this. I don't think Cody ever really let his family I don't think Cody ever led his family. And him bringing up how Joe really leads his family and the wives lead mine allowed him to say it. They chuckle a little bit, but as they're chuckling, Robin says, I think that what us wives need to learn how to do is to just shut our mouths and let Cody lead more. Which made Cody happy. See, Robin knew very early on the recipe to Cody's heart. Robin knew that Cody needed to feel like the man that he is and that he had dominion over his home. And with the other wives, he was not able to do that, but Robin is going to make sure that they have that honeymoon and that he does that. It's day 2, and we see the family do water activities. As they're approaching, it really does look like a whole group of people when it's just 2 families. The guy who's over the place with the rentals and stuff says that he has enough girls at home with a 9-month-old and his wife. He doesn't see how they do it, but he's not judging them. As they're doing different things in the water, Christine talks about how she likes Joe's family and how he runs it, and she likes his kids, and that she wouldn't mind seeing their kids date one another and then eventually get married. I wonder if they're still together. I think they are. I know they were a couple seasons ago, but I just wonder what their dynamic is like now, because they seem to have done a really good job just watching this episode. They then sit down as adults and talk about, like, you know, what's the reason why Cody came out. And Cody basically said he came out because he was tired of the secrets, and he was tired of them not knowing, you know, like all sides of polygamy, and he just felt like this would be best. One of the wives then talks about like some of the things that were, you know, risky and a time where they lost a child when the child was 5 months old at home. I think she said that the child had some heart issues, a girl. As a result, which is what most states do, if you have a death, they do an investigation. And while they were doing the investigation, they found out that they were polygamists, which then had them questioning if the doctor is polygamous and who do they see, and them wanting to talk to different people, and how them being polygamous did not help the investigation. As a result, because of things that they've heard about in the past with different families, like Christine's grandfather who were separated, they were afraid that they would be arrested or that their kids would be taken away. When I'm hearing them talk, I said, okay, This is a true example of being investigated. Not that crap that Cody then pulled where they told us that they were being investigated, but they didn't even speak to any type of official. I'm not saying that they weren't looking into the family. I know that they were looking into the family, but I do not think it was to the degree that the Browns have tried to make it seem, and I'm sticking to that. Janelle asked if them being public is helping because she wonders that sometimes. And the Dargers never answered that question. If they did, we didn't see it. We hear again from Robin how not every polygamist commits welfare fraud and has underage child brides and all that other stuff. But Robin, there are some polygamists who do like you, which is take advantage of families and milk them for their money because you sought this family out. Christine lets us know that she's very impressed with how the Dargers interact and how they show affection towards each other. You see him, kissing this wife on the cheek and having his arm wrapped around this wife and him playing and stuff with these kids and him embracing this wife. And then at one part, he has his arms wrapped around two of them and he's kissing another one and they're all right in each other's presence. Cody says he wants that in theory, but they have a lot of jealousy, so they can't really do it. Mary says for them, why add one more thing for them to be concerned or jealous about when they can have their own relationships in private with him? That crap doesn't make sense to me, especially if your husband wants to show affection. So in season 18, where Cody is saying to us that he had to hide his love, the love that he had, for Robin because of his other wives, I was just thinking about in terms of, that current period. But I think it goes as far back as here because he truly was in love with Robin. He truly is very affectionate with Robin. And he is saying right here that I want to be affectionate, of course, but I can't do it because these other wives have a problem with it. This family has so many breaks and cracks in their foundation that it didn't make sense. And they should not have ever added another wife to the family because they were already so many underlying issues that we still to this day aren't even privy to. You see, Christine came along because Christine was the third wife. She was the fun wife. She was the wife who was going to get all of Cody's love and affection because the other two wives weren't getting along. Christine, I believe, was doted on. Christine, I believe, at one period did have Cody more than the other wives. And as a result, Christine was okay with it. The problems didn't come for Christine, for Cody, because remember, we kept hearing how light and fun it was. The problems didn't come for them until Robin came. Why? Because Christine finally got a taste of her own medicine and Christine was no longer put in the forefront, which is what happened with those other wives. Remember, Christine told us, I never been jealous before. Well, you weren't jealous because you were added to the family. You didn't have to experience what the other wives have already experienced for Mary 3 times, for Janelle twice, and now this is your first time. We see the kids go out. They're going to get, what are they getting? Milkshakes. And they're going to talk about their parents. So, first question that Maddie wants to ask is, how do you all feel about polygamy? Do you want to do it? And one of the boys instantly says it's a no for him because he does not believe it's one of the commandments. You hear some of the other ones be a little bit more reluctant. One of the brothers is saying how at first he was like, no, but he can see that there are good aspects of it. Maddie then says, out of all things, how are the wives in the kitchen? Do the wives do well in the kitchen? For a teenager to be asking about how things are in the kitchen, I'm like, what in the world? Why is that even a question? Why is she questioning how things are in the kitchen? This is such a strange question for a teenager to ask, which makes me wonder what these blow-ups in the kitchen were like that she was so concerned about how they were in the kitchen. Did she witness it? Did she hear it? Did they hear the parents talk about it? Like, what? I want to know more about that. The boys say that the wives do great in the kitchen, that they function well together and make meals, and they're a good team. They say that their Papa Joe is good at everything. He's big, he's bald, and he's intimidating. Maddie says that she noticed how organized and stuff they are. And they say, yeah, like he pulls out, schedules for everything. And that's one of his strengths. He's really good at everything. And they talk about how the wives have different things that they're good at. And Cody likes to think that he's good at everything. But Logan points out how, there are some times where he's supposed to be good at something, but he messes it up. And we know that the Browns have chaos and the Dargers have organization. We then see the adults who are out for their dinners the last night. They are asking how the adjustment has been with the family since they're now in different homes, that they notice that the homes aren't very close together, that some of them are significantly far apart. And we hear again about how it's been hard on the kids. Christine says that it doesn't even feel like they're functioning as a family. She says that it just feels like they're all in separate homes, which goes back to me saying that they didn't meet as much as they tried to make it seem. Robin kept talking about how much they met up and how they function so much as a family. I guess to Robin, meeting up once a month was a big deal because in her polygamist family, they didn't see each other at all since they were in different states. Christine says, Vegas had to happen for a reason, that Heavenly Father has a reason for everything, and that this was their reset. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that some of those things happen because of the decisions that we make. Heavenly Father didn't tell y'all to leave Utah. At no point did you tell us that Heavenly Father told you all to leave. Cody told y'all to leave because Christine, if you recall, you were telling us that you didn't think it was a good idea. You didn't want to go. So Heavenly Father didn't tell you to go. So don't try to sit here and act like Heavenly Father said, okay, let's go. We hear about how they needed to do the reset because they were living in one home and Robin was living in another, and this now puts them all on equal footing. I don't remember. Oh, Joe had asked, is this what you originally saw? Like when you guys planned on moving out to Vegas, did you see you living in separate homes? And Cody says that he thought that they would find a person who was rich and lost their home, and that they would do a short sale on the house, and that they would be able to have 4 kitchens and 25 bedrooms. I don't understand what part of that makes sense, because when y'all moved to Vegas, we were told how broke you were, how financially straining things were, and all these other things. So how in the world were you going to be able to find some mansion that a rich person had and buy it if you guys were strapped to the point where Janelle was wondering where her next meal was going to come from for her family? Make it make sense. They put no thought into that move. And they blindly listen to Cody, who shouldn't be leading anyone. One of the Darger wives says that if you all decide to move again, really consider having the one home with the one kitchen so that you could share all the meals and stuff. They then start talking about if they worry about, like, Mary's like, do you worry about the decorations in the home? Do you worry about how the kitchen is and all these other things? And the wives basically say no. that none of that matters because their goal is for all of the children to grow up in one home as a family. I can see them saying that, but I do feel like it is also important to feel like your home is homey and that your home has things that you want in it. Because seeing Janelle's decorations with those horses on the wall and stuff, it would be a no for me. There are things that I just wouldn't be able to tolerate. I get irritated when pillows don't look right on the couch, and then you over here talking about those ugly horses. Anyways, I think that once the wives experience being in their own spaces, which they kind of had their own spaces in Lehigh, and then being in their own homes when they were in Vegas, that they never had the desire to go back to one home. At least everybody with the exception of Janelle. Because even though Mary tried to make it seem like she would be okay with it, Robin never answered the question. The only person who came out and said yes, they wanted was Janelle. Cody says that they're trying to push this one home thing on me and this one home kitchen on me, but I would never do one kitchen again. I thought that he really wanted the one home. And I thought that even at one point he was really talking about how if they had to, he would want them to be in one kitchen. I know he showed them the plans that had a big kitchen and then all those separate kitchens, but I don't know. I just don't trust anything that Cody does at this point. Like, was the one house up there ever anything that he really wanted? Because we went from one house to four houses, then to 5 houses. Like, it kept changing. I don't know. Cody says that he knows his family and his wives at this point. So one of the things that's important for his wives is that they have domain in their kitchen. So as a result, he doesn't want to go there with the one kitchen that they've done that. He says that I have 2 wives that feel that sharing the same kitchen is abusive. Cody had no problem with throwing Mary under the bus at that moment, because if you're talking about what y'all did previously, then we know that that doesn't include Robin. Mary says she takes it personally when Cody says that because she knows that Janelle feels like she abused her in their relationship in the beginning. While Mary is saying this, at that very moment, Janelle was sitting there saying nothing. Mary then begins crying and saying that it was never her intention to be abusive to her. I want to know what way she was abusive to her, because I've seen Cody actually be verbally abusive to Janelle with the things that he's said. And Janelle recently telling us in season 13 that Cody hasn't been abusive to her and he's never neglected her. So whatever Mary did or said must have been really bad for Janelle to consider that to be abusive. Janelle says it was a personality difference. Mary says that she was raised that she can say how she felt and what she wanted, and it was okay. And as a result, the way she was raised ended up looking and feeling like abuse to Janelle. Something is being left out of this because it's not making sense to me. Mary says it was just, if I think it makes sense to have the cups go here, and I think that it makes sense to have the large folded here, then that was abusive. That doesn't seem abusive to me. Maybe it sounds a little controlling, because remember, Janelle said something earlier about Joe being controlling. Maybe it sounds like slight OCD, but I wouldn't use the term abusive. Mary's voice and tone probably is what came off as abusive. Janelle said that she had no idea that she could say what she wanted. And Cody had no idea he was supposed to be listening for her. I can't relate to what Janelle's saying here, because I've always been someone who's been able to express myself, even to the point where I used to get in trouble sometimes because I was supposed to be seen according to my mother and not heard. But Janelle saying that she couldn't express herself is insane to me. Is that why she's so impressed with Maddie having a backbone, because Janelle didn't have one? Cody says it's a challenge and that basically we all need to learn how to be kind and safe. Why is this something that you still need to learn how to do if Mary said that this happened early on in the relationship, in the beginning stages? Why is this something that you still have problems with? Here's the thing, we were all raised differently, but in my opinion, it's important to learn what works and what doesn't work for the people that you care about. So if you're with someone who doesn't respond well to yelling, then don't yell. I'm not saying don't express yourself, but don't yell. If you're someone who is highly combative, then you need to work on that. You do things for yourself and for the people that you love to make sure that you're operating at your best self for yourself and for your family. And if they would have done that, if they really and truly were working as the cohesive unit that they pretended to make us feel like they were working as, I feel like a lot of their problems wouldn't have lingered for so long. They talk about how Mary acts like, something along the lines of like, how do you all do this, whatever. And we find out that the Dargers operate in their parental roles as a unit. That in the beginning, some things were kind of difficult and they sat down and were like, look, these are going to be the rules. This is what we agree in. These are the things that we want to see. And as a result, they came up with a mission statement. And I said, okay, so this is why we had the whole season of them writing that stupid mission statement that they didn't even adhere to. But I think that the bigger point here wasn't the mission statement. It was the fact that these adults sat down and had conversations about how they were going to operate as a family. So one mom wasn't saying one thing and another mom wasn't saying another. They were operating as a unit. And rather than taking that from this, they took that we need to go ahead and make a mission statement. I think that that conversation went over all the Browns' heads, with the exception of Janelle. One of the twins says, the key is eternal commitment. Joe adds that it is eternal commitment and this lasts forever, even after we leave Earth. He talks about the relationship in the parenting books that I mentioned earlier and how it's important to keep pouring into your marriages. Cody then in confessional asks if they should do a mission statement, if all the wives want to do a mission statement. And everybody says yes, with the exception of Janelle. Janelle says, I don't really see the point. And I don't see the point either, because they're not parenting together. And that alone would help with some things if they had the same goal. Cody says he didn't know what he was getting into with polygamy. He just answered the call, whereas Joe knew. I think that's a piss poor excuse, because Joe let us know that even though he was brought up in polygamy, that he did additional work for the sake of his family. Looks to me like Cody should have done more work before he answered the call. Cody says that he's proud of them because the 4 houses is the first big plan that they've had as a family. I guess he's not counting Lehigh because Robin wasn't a part of that, because to me, that was what they had as a family. Christine says that she feels like the 4 homes would be a lot better than what they had in Lehigh. I don't know how you could say that when you've already talked about how the kids are struggling with not seeing each other, but I guess because you all were right next door that they thought it was going to be okay. Cody knew all along, listening to this episode, that his wives had major issues. The problem with them is that they brushed a lot of things under the rug. Janelle is timid. Janelle doesn't like confrontation. Janelle may use buzzwords. I don't know, because I don't know the full details of what exactly happened with Mary and Janelle during that abusive process. If you know, put it down below, because I'm interested in hearing it. This episode really showed us the 2 in my opinion, opposites, because we have a family that's operating in dysfunction, and then we had a family that was a representation of what we thought we were going to get in the Browns. Guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. I have the clicker in my hand. This time, I'm not going to turn it off before I tell you all thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking time that you didn't have to take out to listen to me. This is a long one, so we'll see how you all feel about it. Until next time.